I wired $12,000 to a stranger because of a job offer I knew was fake. Let me say that again. I knew, deep in my gut where truth lives before logic tries to kill it, I knew something was wrong, but I did it anyway. And in 72 hours, I lost everything: my savings, my apartment, my dignity, my ability to look my mom in the eyes without wanting to disappear. All for a $5,000 a week remote job that never existed. You're probably thinking, how could anyone fall for that? And I get it. I thought the same thing. I'd read the warnings, seen the stories, and like most people, I thought I was too smart to fall for one of those emails promising riches from a stranger overseas. But here's what nobody tells you about scams. They don't work because you're stupid. They work because you're desperate. And in March 2022, I was drowning in slow motion. You're about to hear a true financial story that many would rather hide. But in sharing it, we uncover the patterns, the traps, and the brutal lessons that others can learn from, maybe even you. This is Money Mistake Files, where we take real-life money mistakes and turn them into raw, honest stories that might just save you from the same fate. So settle in, take a breath, and listen closely, because sometimes the best advice comes from someone else's pain. My name is Jordan, and to understand how I lost everything, you need to understand where I was when that email arrived. It was March 2022. I was 28 years old, living in a studio apartment in Denver that cost $1,450 a month, which was cheap for the area but still ate half my paycheck. I was working as a customer service representative for an insurance company, making $38,000 a year. Do the math. That's about $2,400 a month after taxes. Rent was $1,450. That left me $950 for everything else: food, utilities, student loan payments, car insurance, gas, phone bill. I wasn't living, I was surviving, barely. I had $14,000 in savings. It had taken me 4 years to build that cushion, putting away $50 here, $100 there, whenever I could. It was supposed to be my emergency fund, my ticket out if things got worse. But things were already worse. My car had 190,000 miles and was making a grinding noise I couldn't afford to diagnose. My landlord had just announced rent was going up to $1,650 starting in May. My student loan payments were $340 a month, and I'd been deferring them for 6 months, but that was about to end. I was drowning in slow motion, watching the water rise inch by inch, knowing eventually it would cover my mouth. Every night, I'd scroll through job listings, remote positions, better paying roles, anything that could give me breathing room. I must have applied to 200 jobs in 3 months. 200. I got 17 rejections. The rest? Silence. You know what that does to you, that constant rejection? It hollows you out, makes you feel worthless, makes you wonder if you're ever going to escape. Therefore, when the email arrived on March 18th at 2:47 p.m., I was primed, ready, desperate for someone to say yes. The subject line: urgent, remote position, data entry specialist, $5,000 a week. $5,000 a week. I opened it. The email looked professional, clean formatting, company logo at the top, a name I recognized, Westfield Solutions Group, which I'd seen on LinkedIn before. It read, "Dear Jordan, we came across your profile and believe you'd be an excellent fit for our remote data entry specialist position. This is an urgent opening due to unexpected team expansion, and we're looking to fill it immediately. Compensation, $5,000 a week. Schedule flexible, work from home. Requirements, computer, internet, attention to detail. Start date, immediate. Due to the urgent nature of this role, we're conducting a streamlined hiring process. If you're interested, please respond within 24 hours to schedule a brief interview via email. Best regards, Sarah Chen, Recruitment Director, Westfield Solutions Group." My heart was pounding. $5,000 a week. That was $20,000 a month. That was everything. That was the way out. But something felt off. I'd never applied to Westfield Solutions Group. How did they find my profile? And $5,000 a week for data entry? That was insane. Data entry jobs paid maybe $15 to $20 an hour, not $125 an hour. I Googled Westfield Solutions Group. A real company popped up. Professional website, LinkedIn page with 2,000 employees, headquarters in Chicago. They had reviews on Glassdoor. Everything looked legitimate. But this email, something about it felt wrong. I stared at it for 20 minutes, cursor hovering over the reply button. Part of me was screaming, "This is a scam, deleted." But another part, the desperate, exhausted, terrified part, whispered, "What if it's real? What if this is your shot?" I replied, "Hi, Sarah. Thank you for reaching out. I'm very interested in this position. When can we schedule an interview?" I hit send before I could change my mind. She responded in 11 minutes. Red flag number 1. Sarah's response was enthusiastic, professional, detailed. She said they were impressed with my work ethic and attention to detail, even though she'd never seen me work. She said the interview would be conducted via email due to scheduling constraints with multiple time zones. Red flag number 2. But she answered it before I could question it. Our team operates globally, and we find email interviews allow candidates to provide thoughtful responses without the pressure of real-time video calls. That actually made sense. I'd done video interviews before and hated them. Email felt more comfortable. She sent me 3 interview questions. Describe your experience with data entry and why you're interested in remote work. How do you manage your time when working independently? What's your availability to start? I spent 2 hours crafting perfect responses, professional but personable, highlighting my organizational skills, emphasizing that I could start immediately. I sent them at 8:47 p.m. She responded at 9:03 p.m. Red flag number 3. Who responds to interview questions at 9 p.m. on a Friday? Jordan, your responses are exactly what we're looking for. We'd like to move forward with an offer. However, before we can finalize her employment, we need you to set up your home office equipment through our approved vendor. Here's where my stomach started twisting. Due to security requirements, all employees must use company-provided equipment, laptop, monitor, and secure network router. The total cost is $3,200, which will be deducted from your first paycheck. However, we need you to facilitate the purchase up front through our vendor. Once you start, you'll be reimbursed immediately. I read it 3 times. They wanted me to pay $3,200 for equipment. Every cell in my body was screaming, "Scam, this is a scam." But Sarah had anticipated my concern. The next paragraph read, "I understand this seems unusual. Many candidates have the same initial hesitation. However, this is standard procedure for high-security remote positions. The equipment is specialized and must be purchased through our approved vendor to ensure compliance with our data protection protocols. You'll receive a full reimbursement plus your first week's pay, $8,200 total, within 3 business days of starting." She included a link to the vendor, Secure Tech Solutions. I clicked it. The website looked professional. Product listings, shopping cart, SSL certificate showing it was secure. But when I Googled Secure Tech Solutions reviews, I found nothing. No reviews, no complaints, no information except the website itself. Red flag number 4. I sat there, laptop open, room dark except for the screen's glow, and I felt that familiar sensation. Desperation wrestling with logic. Logic said, "This is obviously a scam. Real companies don't make you buy your own equipment." But desperation whispered, "What if you're wrong? What if you pass this up and spend another year drowning? What if this is real and you're just paranoid?" I want you to understand something. When you're desperate, when you've been rejected 200 times, when you're 2 months from being homeless, your brain starts negotiating with reality. It starts finding reasons why the impossible might be possible. I told myself, maybe high security companies do operate this way. Maybe I'm just not familiar with this industry. I told myself, the company is real. I verified that. This could be legitimate. I told myself, I'll get the money back in 3 days and then I'll be making $20,000 a month. So I replied, I'm interested, but I don't have $3,200 available right now. Is there any flexibility? Sarah's response came in 6 minutes. I completely understand. Let me speak with my manager. 20 minutes later, good news. We can reduce the upfront cost to $2,400 if you commit to starting Monday. The remaining $800 will be deducted from your first paycheck. She was negotiating, making me feel like I was getting a deal. Classic manipulation. But I didn't see it that way. I saw it as her being understanding, flexible, human. I still had that voice screaming in my head, don't do this. But it was getting quieter because I wanted to believe. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, phone in my hand, reading and rereading Sarah's emails. I pulled up the Westfield Solutions Group website again. I looked at employee profiles on LinkedIn. Everything checked out. At 3 a.m., I did something I'm ashamed of. I calculated how long $20,000 a month would take to change my life. 1 month, pay off credit cards and catch up on bills. 2 months, replace my dying car. 3 months, move to a better apartment. 6 months, pay off student loans completely. 1 year, have $150,000 saved. I could see it. The life I'd been chasing for a decade, right there, within reach. By morning, I'd convinced myself. I sent the email. I'm ready to move forward. How do I make the payment? Sarah responded immediately with wire transfer instructions. Account number, routing number. Bank name, First Commerce Credit Union. Amount, $2,400. Once the transfer is complete, send me the confirmation number and we'll ship your equipment overnight. You'll start training Monday morning. I went to my bank at 10 a.m. when they opened. The teller, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, processed my wire transfer request. She looked at the amount, looked at me, and asked, "Can I ask what this is for?" "Work equipment," I said. "New job." She paused. "You're wiring $2,400 to someone for a job?" "It's a company. They're reimbursing me." She looked at me for a long moment. I could see the concern in her eyes. She wanted to say something. I could feel it. But she didn't. She processed the transfer. Confirmation number, WT48739-2CH. I sent it to Sarah at 10:34 a.m. Perfect. Equipment will ship today. You'll receive tracking info by tonight. Welcome to the team, Jordan. Your life is about to change. And it did. Just not the way I expected. Saturday and Sunday passed in a blur of excitement and anxiety. I kept checking my email for the tracking number. Nothing. Monday morning, 8 a.m., I emailed Sarah. "Hi, I haven't received tracking info yet. When should I expect the equipment?" No response. By noon, I was nervous. By 3 p.m., I was panicking. I called the phone number listed on the Westfield Solutions Group website. A receptionist answered. "Westfield Solutions, how can I help you?" "Hi, I'm trying to reach Sarah Chen in recruiting." Pause. "We don't have anyone by that name in our recruiting department." My stomach dropped. "Are you sure? Sarah Chen, recruitment director?" "Sir, I've worked here for 6 years. We don't have a Sarah Chen." "But I've been emailing with her about a data entry position." Another pause, longer this time. "Sir, we don't have any data entry positions open right now, and we would never ask a candidate to pay for equipment. I think you've been scammed." The words hit me like a physical blow. Scammed. I hung up and immediately tried to recall the wire transfer. I called my bank. The same teller from Friday answered. I need to cancel a wire transfer, I said, my voice shaking. The one from Friday for $2,400. She pulled up my account. I'm sorry, sir. Wire transfers are irreversible once processed. The funds left our system Friday afternoon. But it was a scam. I was scammed. I'm very sorry. You'll need to file a police report and contact the receiving bank, but typically these funds are moved immediately and are unrecoverable. I felt the room spinning. $2,400 gone. But it got worse because the email from Sarah hadn't only asked for $2,400 for equipment. 3 days later, I got another email, different name this time, Michael Rodriguez, IT department manager. Jordan, there's been an issue with your equipment shipment. The vendor needs an additional $1,800 for international shipping fees that weren't included in the initial quote. Please wire this amount immediately to avoid delays. I stared at the email, rage and humiliation burning through me. They were trying again. And here's the sickest part. For about 30 seconds, I considered it because I'd already lost $2,400. And my brain, desperate and broken, whispered, what if paying this $1,800 gets you the $2,400 back plus the job? That's how they get you. They hook you with the first loss, and then they use your desperation to recover it to take even more. I deleted the email. But then I checked my bank account, and my blood went cold. There was another charge, $3,500, pending. I called my bank immediately. What is this charge? I didn't authorize this. The representative checked. It's from Secure Tech Solutions. You provided them your debit card information. No, I hadn't. But then I remembered. When I'd clicked on the Secure Tech Solutions website, there had been a Save Your Payment Info for Faster Checkout checkbox. I'd checked it without thinking. They'd stored my card information, and now they were draining my account. I want you to understand what the next 72 hours felt like. Because losing money isn't just about the numbers. It's about what those numbers represent. That $2,400 wasn't just cash. It was 4 years of sacrifice, 4 years of skipping meals, walking instead of driving, saying no to friends, living without. 4 years of hoping tomorrow would be better. And I'd handed it to a stranger because I was desperate enough to believe in magic. The $3,500 pending charge, that was the rest of my emergency fund. That was the difference between making rent and being homeless. I filed a fraud claim with my bank. They said it would take 10 to 14 business days to investigate. Meanwhile, my account was frozen. I had $143 to my name. I couldn't make rent. $1,450 due in 5 days, and I had $143. I called my mom at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, crying so hard I could barely speak. Mom, I messed up. I messed up so bad. She wired me $1,500 the next morning. She's retired, living on Social Security, and she sent me $1,500 she couldn't afford to lose because I'd been stupid enough to fall for a scam. The shame was worse than the financial loss. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake replaying every moment, every red flag I had ignored, every warning sign I talked myself out of seeing. The worst part? I'd known. From the first email, some part of me had known it was fake, but I'd wanted it to be real so badly that I'd betrayed my own instincts. 2 weeks later, my fraud claim was denied. The bank said I'd authorized the initial wire transfer, so they couldn't help me. The $3,500 charge was eventually reversed, but the $2,400, gone forever. I reported it to the FTC, the FBI's IC3, the local police. Everyone gave me the same sympathetic look and told me the same thing. These scammers operate overseas. We rarely recover funds. I was alone with the consequences. My landlord thankfully gave me an extension on rent after I explained everything, but the grace period was temporary. I picked up a second job doing food delivery on nights and weekends. I was working 70 hours a week just to survive. And every single day, I thought about that moment in the bank. The teller's concerned face, the questions she almost asked, the warnings she almost gave in. If she had, would I have listened? Honestly, probably not, because I'd already decided to believe. So, what did I learn? What's the point of telling you this humiliating story? Because if even one person hears this and recognizes the pattern before they wire the money, it's worth the shame. Here are the lessons I learned the hard way. Lesson 1. Desperation is a scammer's best tool. They don't target stupid people, they target desperate people. People who are drowning and will grab onto anything that looks like a life raft. If you're in a desperate situation financially, you are the most vulnerable to these schemes. Recognize that. Protect yourself by being extra skeptical when stakes are high. Lesson 2. Real companies never ask you to pay upfront for equipment. Never. Not for remote work, not for security purposes, not for specialized equipment. If a job requires specific equipment, they provide it, or they reimburse you through payroll after you've started. Anyone asking for money up front is scamming you. Lesson 3. Trust your gut even when you want to ignore it. From the first email, I knew something was wrong, but I talked myself out of that feeling. Your instincts exist for a reason. When something feels off, it usually is. Don't negotiate with that voice. Listen to it. Lesson 4. Verify everything independently. I Googled a company, but I didn't call them directly using a phone number I found myself. I relied on the information the scammer provided. Always verify through independent sources. Call the main company line. Check official websites. Don't trust links in emails. Scammers are professionals at manipulation. Sarah knew exactly what to say to address my concerns. She anticipated my objections. She made me feel understood. She negotiated to make me feel like I was getting a deal. These aren't amateurs, they're professionals who've perfected their tactics on hundreds or thousands of victims. Don't underestimate them. Lesson 6. The shame keeps people silent. After it happened, I didn't want to tell anyone. The shame is crushing. But that silence is exactly what allows these scams to continue. Scammers rely on victims being too embarrassed to report or warn others. Break that silence. Tell people, report it, warn others, even if it's humiliating. Financial desperation makes you vulnerable to cognitive distortions. When you're desperate, your brain literally changes how it processes information. You start making connections that aren't there. You start justifying things you'd normally question. You become your own worst enemy. If you're in financial crisis, be extra careful about big decisions. Talk to someone you trust before acting. I'm telling you this story not because I'm proud of it, but because I know statistically some of you watching this are in the same place I was in March 2022. You're drowning, you're desperate, and you're one compelling email away from making the same mistake. Don't. Whatever you're going through, whatever financial hole you're in, this isn't the way out. There are no shortcuts, no magic solutions, no urgent job offers that will save you. There's only the slow, hard work of building yourself back up, one real paycheck at a time. It's been 2 years since this happened. I'm still rebuilding, still working 2 jobs, still paying back my mom. But I'm here, and I'm sharing this with you because if my humiliation can save even one person from this nightmare, then maybe it meant something. If this story made you think twice, if it made you recognize a pattern you've seen, hit that subscribe button, because we're bringing you stories like mine. Real people, real mistakes, real lessons. These aren't just cautionary tales, they're survival guides for a world full of people trying to take advantage of your desperation. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because the best defense against scammers isn't being smart, it's being warned. I'll see you in the next story, and I hope to God it's not yours.